Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the live webinar on Mastering Revit Component Creation. So, I am Pranami Bharali. I am an BIM specialist here at Capricorn Technologies. I will be the host of the rest of the webinar today. I would like to welcome all of you to the webinar. Let's see the schedule first, which we have made. So first, I will be giving you a small introduction on the company. Then we will learn about the Revit component creation. So everybody that is a user of Revit have heard about Revit families. Whoever is not a Revit user, they have also heard about the Revit families. Even they have not heard about it, we will learn today from scratch what is Revit families and how that can be used in your different projects. So for that, we have an industry expert. So that is architect Ramneet ma'am. So ma'am will be giving you a very deep insight on that. Along with ma'am, we have architect Prakriti Goel. So she will give you the workflow, the correct workflow that we have to go for a parametric Revit family. So she will be showing you that, give you the demonstration directly on Revit. So you will learn that about. And for the whole 1 hour packed for us for this webinar, we have the Q&A open at any point. If you have any questions regarding anything for us, please give in the Q&A open for all of you. So at any point between the session, between the webinar and at the last also, we will answer your Q&A. And lastly, we will go for the vote of thanks. So let's start first with the brief introduction of the company. So, Capricorn is India's leading design and construction management technology solution provider for the AEC industry. So, we are here from since 1987, and we have more than 20,000 plus Indian customers. And we have a 40 plus BIM expert employees here. So we have 250 plus tech savvy team accordingly. So now Capricorn has become a part of the global group Arcan's company. So we have spread it for the America region, the EMEA and the APEC region as well. So we are spread it over all over the world right now. So for the global network, so before starting for the Revit component creation, so first I would like to welcome all of you. Secondly, before going to the speakers, first we will give you a brief introduction on what is Revit component, that is what is Revit families. So as I said, this webinar will give you a brief insight whether you are a Revit user from before, or if you are not a Revit user from before also. So first let's learn about what is Revit families. So to give you a very brief of what is Revit families, I would like to call Prakriti. So she will give you about the hierarchy of Revit, and also how what are the different typologies and what are the Revit components. So she will be giving you a brief insight on that. So Prakriti, you are connected, right? So I would just ask you to take over the.
Thank you, Pranami. So I'll carry forward from here. Right. So yeah. So I hope my screen is visible.
Yeah, it's visible.
So right now, first of all, like most of you know about Revit, and like if you are starting from the beginning, so first we'll talk about like brief introduction of Revit, and then we'll discuss about the family, like what is Revit components, like Revit families. So if I talk about Revit, so what is a Revit? So that it is actually a BIM software in which a single coordinated model you will be developing. So single coordinated means what? Like multiple disciplines are working in this like in this software, to develop a well coordinated and with well clarity of a building, like how it will be constructed, how it will be completed. So next question, like who all will be working on this? So maybe like architects, engineering team, like full engineering team, like different engineers, like civil engineers, MEP engineers, as well as contractors. So these they are collaborating and coordinating with each other to develop the well coordinated model. Now how? So as some like if I talk about BIM, so you are providing certain information related to disciplines. So if I talk about for architects, like you are providing the materials, you are providing the design, right? For like how your like what type of material you are using, and from that point of view, like you are getting the output, and like in the form of different analysis, documentations, quantities, right? Now when we are going for this project, like when Revit is actually used for, so Revit is used in full life cycle of the project. So from design stage, like from conceptual design stage to the operation maintenance. So like if I'm talking about the level of development in BIM, so like it is actually from 100 level of development, that is conceptual design, and to 600 to 700 level of development, that is your operation and maintenance. Now if I talk about the benefits of Revit, like why we are actually using it. So first of all, again, it is giving you a single coordinated model where all the information that you are providing related to material, related to components like doors and windows, right, it is actually stored in a one single database. And each and every discipline is actually working. So like there might be clashes. So if there is a, let's say, clash between wall and column, wall and beam, so you can actually detect all the clashes over there in Revit. Now if I talk about automated changes, so if you are changing like from the central model, like you are developing a central model, and from that you're like you are getting the quantities, documentations, analysis, right, presentation drawings. So everything, every documentation you are getting out of that central model. So wherever you have provided any changes, it will reflect everywhere, right? So if you have changes, if you have provided in the changes in sections, elevation, it will be reflected everywhere, including quantities, right? Next is enhanced 3D and 2D documents. So again, like you are developing a central model, and from that central model you are getting all the working drawings, GFCs related drawings, and your presentation drawings, even your quantities, the accurate quantities. Now if I talk about the next benefit, is the most important thing, the extensive BIM library. So your project needs to have a BIM, like needs to have a component. So components, again, like if I talk about components, different components make a whole project. So we have like staircases, we have doors, we have windows, we have furnitures. So all these components develop your project. So if you install your Revit, you have the extensive library in two cases. Like you have components, maybe 2D components in terms of your annotations, your detail panel, like details. And if I talk about in 3D terms, so you'll get vast amount of like furnitures and doors and windows, as well as in like you will get material document as well. So now Revit is actually foreign software. So right now Indian content is actually still developing. So you can actually develop your own families, as well as you can actually use these current and modify them. So now today we will be discussing about like what is a Revit family and how we can actually create our own and better families for our project. Now, if I talk about Revit family, so what is a Revit family? So it actually is a group of elements which are combined together with certain properties. Let's say if I talk about doors, so you have door height, door width, and your handle height. So all these parameters, all these properties are created in that family. So like if I talk about chair, so backrest chair, like backrest, your legs, they are combined together to form a family. right? Now, if I talk about what type of families we have in Revit, so they are first loadable. Like you have that extensive BIM content library, so you are loading the families in your project, like doors, windows, and like maybe fixtures, furnitures. And if I'm talking about certain families which are like, which are you have to provide in the Revit only, like you have to create in Revit project only, that is your walls, ceilings, roofs. And let's say if you are developing a certain like certain furniture, you are designing certain furniture for your interior spaces, you're designing it, so that is your unique feature of this, of the specific project. So that is your in place families, which are not like which cannot be shared to one project. So loadables can be shared from project to project, but your in place families are those which are unique for a specific project, right? Now this family has certain hierarchy, so let's discuss that hierarchy. So how you are developing your families, it is actually developed according to discipline. So as I told you, like in Revit we have multiple disciplines involved. So according to those disciplines, you will have certain categories, and under those categories you will have multiple of families and their types. Now what is discipline? So if I talk about architects, like architecture discipline, structural discipline, MEP disciplines, they'll have different categories. Like for architects, for architectural discipline we have doors, windows, furnitures. Infrastructure, we have uh, beams, right? Foundations, right? And so on. Now if I talk about family, so if I give an example of doors, so one family can be flush door, like we can have a curtain, like glass door, right? Revolving door. So those kind of your are families. But if I talk about type, so type is what? Like if I'm talking about flush door, so we have different sizes. So type means like it is actually, it belongs to the same family, but it has certain difference in sizes, in maybe materials. So if I talk about flush door, it can be like 900 by 2100 door, 1000 by 2100 door. So these sizes, if there is certain change in sizes or material, they actually represent as a type, right? Now if I talk about the examples, so again, like for maybe let's say if you are developing a sofa, so parametric, how parametric family actually works, so you can create only one family where you can change the sizes. So if you are creating the sofa, right, so you can create one seated sofa and you can change its parameter so that it will, like when you increase the sizes, it will become two seated, three seated, and so on. Same as for your table, like table families, right? Now how parametric families actually work, so again, like if you can see over here, we have dining table, like conference tables or dining tables, so you can actually create sets in which you can actually change their seating arrangement, your like different like combination of chairs, different type of chairs, even the like if you want to provide four seater to like six seating conference table, eight seating, and so on, right? And if I talk about the seating arrangement, like you can see like how the parametric components are actually working. So you are adding all the different components as well as you're changing its sizes, right? So now over to you, Pranami.
Yeah, Prakriti, thank you so much. So I hope everybody has got a little bit idea about the what Revit families is, as you have all heard about it. So the basic understanding of the Revit families, which we will show you the workflow as well. So before going to the workflow and everything, so I'll be just sharing my screen. So we will we will go a little bit dive deep to the component creation. Before that, we'll be seeing how it helps Ramneet ma'am. So Ramneet ma'am is here with us. So she will give you a brief insight how Revit families has helped her. Right. So, Ramneet ma'am, architect Ramneet Kaur, she holds a position of associate partner as at ASP Associates, and she is also serving as a BIM manager consultant at Studio Symbiosis. So, she has done a diverse architectural projects, and she has been engaged in a Ministry of your Public Works Department, and also advising the SPA on various architectural projects. So she has collaborated with many architects. So previously, she has also contributed as an assistant professor at the SPA Delhi as well, and she has been featured in numerous international and national conferences, as well as for peer-reviewed journals as well. So, ma'am will give you a brief insight about how Revit families, the parametric Revit families, she has created and helped her team as well. So, ma'am is here with us. So over to you, ma'am.
Pranami. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to share my screen. So, after a thorough information provided by Prakriti, what we are realizing is that we also need to look at the practical component of what all has been talked right now. So, the reason I'm here is to give you a brief idea about how I have used these families into my projects and how they have sort of really increased the workflow. So I'll be talking about three basic ideations where I have been using these families and these components. The first one would be talking about the architectural component, which is basically at the conceptual level. Then at the interior conceptual level, and finally towards the end, I'll be talking about how these families and components have really increased me to sort of look at the working design, working drawings, and how they have improved the workflow. So, for the first part, where I'll be talking about the architectural concept, uh, there are a few things that we need to keep in mind. We as architects ideally would like to design our own families and our own sort of, doors and windows, and we really want to sort of have a particular ideation of the look that we'll be wanting to achieve. So right now here what you are seeing on the screen are just a few examples of the doors that we wanted in one of the research projects. uh, in fact, for this project we had more than 50 Revit families created because of the various permutation combinations. However, if you would just look at how this W1A is compared to W2A compared to W3A are basically look-alikes, but just their sizes are different, right? Similarly, if you look here, D1 and D2 are very similar. However, the difference is only in their sizes. Also, we want certain times to create doors and windows, or probably bay windows. So basically, families, if once created, can help you create your own library, which can be repeated over your projects, or which can really improve your workflow. So like here, let's take an example of this window W1. If I sort of want to create this as a family and I want it to be repeated, what we realize is, now I'm going to talk about how this has been first broken down into the basics. I have tried to understand how this will be modeled, and then how I went ahead with it. So we realized that probably these three shutters will be in equal sizes, and then these two might differ from the ones in front, but they will be equal. However, the frames will be of a particular size. So these are the basic, and also we have to keep in mind the length and width, right? So now these parameters are sort of clear in our head. Now this is just a screenshot of how this family was created. As talked already, we can create parameters related to material. This is what you'll see, notice here. And then there were other parameters created, in which you would probably also be noticing that the equal signs are coming up. So basically, the definition of equal sign would be this dimension might change, but the distance between these two, so the green lines are basically the reference lines, right? So the distance between these two would always be the same. So basically we are trying to sort of add certain constraints into the family and create a better version. In fact, you would also notice here, I would want to take your attention that I am providing shutter width in two of the places and I have left the other one unassigned. The reason is that Revit is a very smart tool. It realizes that it somehow needs to, if I am giving my overall width, I need to sort of have one of the dimension free so that the family doesn't become over constrained. So if you sort of create another dimension here and you provide the same parameter, Revit would start giving a warning that your family is becoming over constrained and it might not even sometimes allow you to create it. This is how we have just a very quick example of how we can create window families and interesting families here. So this is a final look once it is. So Prakriti has already talked about loadable families. Window is a loadable family. So once it's loaded into the project, you can see how the plans come up, how your elevations come up, and how it will look into the 3D. So any sort of design which is customized to your projects can be easily included. Another example that I would want to take here is of a chaja or jali pattern that you would want to create. So here the requirement was we have to be like, once we're working on families, we have to be very careful about what the end result or product is. So for example, here we wanted that one particular module is repeated over time, and also it is changing in dimensions. So the dimensions here are probably different from the ones below, however the design is same. So now if you'll see the other slide, this is a realistic view from the same model. You'll realize that we also wanted the perforations to be visible. However, the constraint that we did not have was that it does not have to look equal. So basically, if you notice here, probably how the jali is visible here is not similar here. So we knew that probably we don't need to model each and every perforation, and we could really make the overall model light. So because the more information you're adding into a family, the heavier the file is becoming, and it might lead to issues later on. So the constraints were really clear. What we ended up doing was we sort of used a JPEG image here, and in the materiality of the image we added bumps to create the perforation required. This really helped to keep the model light, and we were able to work efficiently, because this, as already like shown in the picture above, it was repeating a number of times and we really did not end up having a very heavy file. So another example from the same perforation we can take off is that of a brick jali. So now already Prakriti talked to you about system families, right? Wall is a system family. However, if we are wanting to create certain customized brick jalis, brick walls, maybe even if you can say that, it might not fall into the typical system family. We might need to create them. So here is an example of how we have created another one. I'll like to take your attention towards the formula uh, uh, panel here. You would realize that we have put in formula so that it is the entire process is automated. The minute I am adding wall width, my parameters would start to change, and the number of bricks being taken into the model will increase or decrease based on this. So basically a lot of times we don't end up doing errors if you're like working manually, and automation also helps in increasing the speed of the entire process. uh, so that was the first part. Secondly, I would also like to take your attention towards the in place family. So here, this is a screenshot of one of the competition that we took part in. It was an international competition for Africa. And here we realized that we wanted to do a lot of permutation and combination before we started to get into the final output. We wanted to see how our designs were changing, if we wanted to sort of increase or decrease the heights, or probably how the designs were changing if we were changing the modules here, or probably the number of bamboos that are coming here are changing in number, so how the overall look was coming. So we wanted to develop automated system. So here we created an in place family. And as I have already shown you in the previous slides, you can give various parameters which will define the project, and just by changing the numbers you would start to get the idea about the number of bamboos that are there, or how the look would change, and how your elevation or section would come up. So it's a very good tool sometimes to sort of create very quick sketches, or do a very quick review of your conceptual ideas that you have in your mind. Entirely can be done and generated easily on Revit and using the system families. So now, after talking about the architectural concepts, what I have realized over time is, still in India, a lot of people are not using Revit from interior perspective. They still feel that Revit is more of an architectural tool, and very few companies right now are getting into interior use of Revit. So here I want to give a few examples of how we have utilized Revit and components to develop the final result. So this is one of the projects that we did. The entire modeling has been done on Revit, and even the final 3D output that you're seeing has been generated through the tool. Here, if you would notice that there are a few families that we can say are probably utilized everywhere. For example, the cove lights that we talk about, or maybe if you look at the grooves that are there, and we probably want the grooves matching everywhere, or maybe we want the number of seats to increase or decrease as per the director's size of the table. So these are a few situations which are sort of repeatable and are not project defined. So if we have families already created for these, we can use them anywhere and sort of increase the workflow. So just I like to take an example of the first one that we did, which was the cove lights, and I'll just take you through how we created. So families have to be like, they are have to be created very thoroughly. Here I'll like to show you that. So this is basically nested family that we created. Families are category based, so you have to be very sure of the category in which you are creating. So the first one that we had created, this single led, is basically created on your light fixtures. And I would like to take your attention towards the photometric web file, which are already preloaded into the systems. So once you click on it, you have a lot of options open. You have to sort of go through each of them and realize which one works best for you. So like for me, my one is to 42 T12 was working perfectly fine. And based on your knowledge about the intensity of the light, you can sort of add all the values and the colors. So like, ranging from yellow tone to blue tone, whatever tones you want, all of these parameters can be added, and the final result and output can be looked at. So once this family is created, the single led file, you load this into the main file, which is main family. So now again, so once we are loading one family into another, we call the first one as nested family. So here, because if you would realize, in real world what we do is, once we are creating cove lights, there's one single led and there is a strip, and you sort of just keep pulling the strip throughout, and you end up getting the final result. The same thing is actually produced virtually here. So you have one point, one reference plane, and another one, and the minute you start pulling from one place to another, the number of led lights will keep increasing themselves, again based on the formula which has been added here. You can change the formula as per your requirement, or as per the, like, lights that are created, and you'll end up getting the final result. um, Another example that I want to talk about is the groove that I already showed in the image previously. There, so it's already, as have talked, it's already family categorically defined, right? But there are times when you're not very sure about what family a particular um, component might be falling into. So like, the groove that I wanted, if you are not sure, you have an option of going in for generic model. So there are a lot of models, like, like you can, as per your designs, you might want to add many more um, parts which you're not sure where they're falling, so you can always go and design them into generic models. And this is how the category is defined, and once you load it into project, you just have to go to the components and they'll come, and then you can start using them as per your requirement. And this is another image of another project that we did, interior project. If you'll see that the same light once created for one project is repeated here. And even the doors here, if you look, because sometimes the architectural doors are different from what we would be wanting to create in the interior doors. So all these are very easy to create, and using door families, we ended up getting the result that we wanted with all the parameters added through. So, last part of my discussion today would be about working drawings. The idea of using Revit is ideally to sort of increase the workflow and make the system as automated as possible. So, here is a screenshot of one of the working drawing that we created. The datums that we talk about, so like, the view name probably, or maybe the level name that we talk about, are not, if you open the Revit for the first time, people come up and say that they don't really like those datums. So it's very easy to create your own datums here, and you can customize the way your entire working drawings come out. And you really don't have to compromise um, with the already set style of the company. So you can, it's like, one time that you have to put, and you have to create the families, but they can be used again and again. Another example is that of doors and windows and the way they are represented. So like, the dash lines that you might want to show, or how the openings are coming up, if that is the way you would want to show. Another example is that of the tags that you're using for your doors and windows. You can, so like here, if you notice, there is a small line which is not really touching the edges of the circle, because that is the way we want it in our working drawing. If you want, you can go for any sort of shape, like, hexagons or octagons or squares, or like, and create your own final output of the working drawing that you would want to create. So that is all I would want to talk about today. Thank you. Over to you, Pranami.
Thank you, ma'am, for giving us a diverse range of examples of Revit components, starting from architectural, even in the interior perspective as well, from jali work to even lighting fixtures as well. So I think the attendees has got a very brief of how the Revit families can be used in different perspective. So now what we will be doing is that, since we have seen a lot of examples that ma'am has used in her projects, so next we will be going to the live demonstration of a particular family. So for that, I will be calling Prakriti. So she will give you the live demonstration how a Revit family can be made from the scratch. So she will be showing you and guiding you the process, the correct workflow that you have to follow, so that you get a very good and efficient family. So Prakriti, over to you. And
Um,
also, I would request everyone to write your questions in the Q&A, because after that, we'll be taking the questions, any questions that you have for us. So please feel to give in the Q&A. So we'll be taking the questions at the last. Yes, Prakriti, over to you.
Thank you, Pranami. So I'll share my screen. So we have discussed the like nice examples, like how families are useful like in different projects. So now uh, to like there is not a correct workflow. So actually there are various workflows, but to create a better and efficient and workable families. So there is a like preferable workflow. So we are discussing that. So over here, so first of all, if you are planning a family, if you are developing a family, so first of all, you need to identify the category. So each and every category has its own template. So you have to first use that, right? And in that template, you will get certain properties, certain parameters related to that category, right? Next, you have to save that family. After that, the main thing is like your development, your like your guidelines, how your uh, family will be created. So it is like better to first create the, it is preferable to create the work planes first. So reference planes are actually help in you, like in your creation of your family. So first, what you need to do, you need to have a guidelines, like how your furniture, like how your chair, how your door family will be created. So you have to provide the guidelines. So in guidelines, what I mean is reference plane. So it actually helps you design the family as well as control the family, right? After reference planes, you have to provide the dimensions. Now dimensions means to control the, like if you want to change the width of the door, right? Or if you want to change the width of your furniture family, right? So you can actually get the control, like effective control through dimensions. Now after that, you will start with the geometry, like whatever your family, you are designing a family, whatever you want to provide, you just need to start the geometry. And then after each and every stage, like from conceptual, like from providing reference planes to geometry and to end stage of the family, you have to check it feasibly, check it continuously, so that each and every parameter that you have providing is working pretty fine, right? Now if you have checked it, you have to develop the family types, right? Family types and uh, different family types. Let's say if I talk about doors, so in doors we have like one can be 1 meter by 21, 2.1 meter, right? So that, like those types you can develop. After that, like you have to check like your family, how it is visible in plan views. Like if you are developing working drawings, how your flow, like how your families will look in floor plans, sections or elevations, right? So you have to display, like you have to change their representation. So if I talk about indoor cases, so we actually provide the opening symbol as well in the plan. And in elevations, we actually provide the elevation swing, right, in dotted. So that symbol, that representation, you have to provide it, so that you can get the exact like representation of doors in your working drawings. Next, you have to load it into the project and test it. So this is the better, like preferable workflow for developing a good family. Now let's implement it in Revit. So I'll open Revit over here, right? So in this case, I'll be creating a workstation. So for that, first of all, I need to open the template. So you can see over here, we have various templates according to the category and according to the different standards, like imperial or metric system. So I'll go for furniture only. Click on open. Now before starting a family, just over here, just see. So you have this intersection points, these are your basic reference planes, and their intersection points are actually your placement of families. So this the intersection of these reference planes are the insertion point of your family. So whatever, like how you are providing, like if I'm talking about columns, so like if I'm talking about this base point of your family, so the intersection is the one. So you can start your family creation from here. Now first of all, because we are developing a workstation, so you have to first design it using reference planes, using guidelines. So Revit is actually like work plane based. So and like in Revit, each and every element is actually work plane. So your levels, your grids, they are work plane. So each and every element that you'll see, your doors, your maybe windows, your like furniture, everything is actually work plane based. So you can develop your work planes and you can actually create your geometry easily. So if I go for reference plane, so what I'll do, I'll just provide the maybe like 1.2 meter. And now this is just normal reference plane which is used for guidelines. But if I'm changing this as a work plane, so for that I just need to change the name. So this will be right side of the table and this will be left side. Right now I need to provide the width. So like we can go for maybe 600. So it can be like you can create on two sides, workstations can be on two side or maybe single workstation, so that is up to you. But again, like uh, I'm not creating the different like multiple families, I'm just creating one family which can be actually used both in both cases, like single workstation as well as multiple workstations, right? So now after you have provided the like you just need to provide the naming. So this will be front for the front elevation of the furniture, and this will be back elevation. Now similarly you have to go for, because this is actually 3D family, right? So you have to provide the height as well. So again, like we will be providing just basic guidelines over here and then make this as a work plane. Now why work plane? Just observe. So this will be, let's say, desk tabletop, and we will be having workstation. So workstation needs a partition, so for partition also we will be providing table, like so we can go for 50. Yeah, so this will be your partition top, right? Now after that we will be doing what? We will be giving the dimensions and provide its parameters. Now I'm not starting with the geometry. Why? Because like it is actually feasible, like it is actually preferable to directly start with dimensioning, so that your family, your reference, when your reference planes are actually controlled, now your geometry will also get controlled automatically. So I'll go for dimensions. Right, and then I'll select the dimension and provide the parameter. This will be, let's say, length. And this will be, let's say, width of the one side. So again, I'm creating the same like one family only for both, like single workstation and like multiple, like double workstation. Same, I'll go for the elevation. Partition height. Right now, if whenever we are changing the information, like let's say desk height should be 750, so if I'm changing it now, it should move, like it should update. So you are checking the feasibility of each and every, like each and every stage. So right now I've provided the reference plane, so I'm checking the parameters, is it working or not, right? So this actually needs to be done to create a like better families, like this, right? Now after that you need geometry. So for creating the geometry, as you can see over here, I've created the work planes, right? And do remember, this insertion point is your starting point. So like how your family will be placed on your project, like what will be the starting point of your family. So you need to like just have a just in your mind, like from where you're like from at which point you'll place your families, right? Now what I'll do, I'll just start the geometry, and over here, before creating any geometry, I need to set a work plane. So why is that? So if I go for set, I can just see over here, like I have provided all the names to the reference planes, and now they are acting as a work plane. And if I go to any work plane, if I set any work plane, it will ask me to go to that view. Let's say if I want to provide the like start elevation of the workstation, right? So if I want to develop that, so I need to go to a left elevation, and I can develop the partition over here. And now whenever you develop the sketch, so it is actually preferable like to create the sketch using pick line and use reference plane. So wherever you uh, pick the reference plane, you will get this lock system. So this lock system means what? Like when your reference planes actually moves, your sketch is also moving. So your sketch and your reference plane will be locked. So this is actually like helps you, like when your parameters are changing, your sketch, your geometry is also changing. So this you need to do, right? And let's say if you have some sham, like at the edges you have some curvature or like maybe chamfering, right? So in like this. So if certain dimensions are fixed, you don't want to change them. You don't want to change those dimensions. Those are fixed, right? So what you can do, you can actually provide dimensions inside the sketch. So it is actually like just like Ramneet ma'am said. So certain families becomes heavier, right? So what our motive needs to be, so we have to create a light family. So more reference planes can make your family heavier. Even more dimensions make your Revit family like over constrained, and it will not be feasible. So that is why like try to use minimum of like reference planes, but in a effective way. So in this case, I'm providing the dimensions in sketch. So it is not over it is not over constraining your families, as well as it is making your furniture family light, right? So I'm just locking the sides of the chamfering. So to lock your family, I need to go for reference plane and the sketch like this. So I'm developing it in the sketch only, right? And once you go out of the sketch, you won't be able to see the dimensions, but it is actually constrained, right? Now I have set the work plane. Now you can see how your family starting from that point. So this is your starting point and this is your end point. So you can just like provide the work plane, and from that work plane your geometry will be starting. So this is why the work plane is actually necessary. So let's go for like minus 25, and you can control the like if the partition thickness is same, you can just control it with the dimensions, right? Similarly you have to do with this case. So I need to pick the reference plane, and then I need to do the exact thing. So I'm just using the pick line and the lock system because I've created one partition only. I'm just using the lock command to lock the sketch with the previous geometry, so that when the previous geometry changes, this also changes. This current new geometry also changes, right? Like this. And I'm changing the right. Now if I want to provide the workstation back, like backlit. So what I need to do over here, we have center, front and back. So I can do one thing. I can just go for geometry from like extrusion and then set the work plane. So now we need to go for like this, because this is a tabletop. Right. So now let's go for we can have the right, and you can lock it. And then what we need to do, we need to provide the desk. So desk top, like tabletop we have provided. So from here we have to create a desk. So we'll go for plan view, but we'll specify the work plane. So this is like important, like if you have provided the work plane, your family creation, like your family will be like feasible. So whenever your reference planes will move, your geometry will also move. Right. So I'll go for tabletop work plane. I'll go for the extrusion and use the rectangle. So I need to lock the sketch. And if I go to like front floor, front elevation, so you can see the extrusion, this geometry starting from this work plane only, right? And I just need to provide the depth. So it will be like, because it is starting from here, so above it is plus and below it is actually negative. So I'll go for minus, right? You can lock it. Now I have created the geometry. Let's check it. So if I move your like if I move the desk height, so it should move, like your table height, tabletop should move, right? So if I go to change, let's say 600, so you can see it is working, right? So let's provide uh, partition height as well. Now for partition height as well, I need to go for like partition top, right? So again, set work plane. Right, and I'll go to front elevation, so it is starting from this end. I can go for align and lock, and I can align this area. Right now if I go to in 3D, it will look like this. So it is just like in one direction, but again you can create it in multiple direction, like it is actually one handle. So same thing you have to do in like, you have to do it in different, like in like just like a mirror image, right? And after you have done that, so in some cases, like in single workstation, like in some cases we have only start partition, not end partition. And like if it is aligned with the wall, so you don't have to like you don't have like you don't need a wooden partition. In some cases you need glass partition. So everything you can actually develop it over here, and it will look like this. So it will look like this, right? So what we have done over here, we have created a visibility parameter. So what it will actually do, so if I show you in 3D, so you can see over here we have this visibility parameter. So if I check them on, so it's like this is the whole parameter. So whenever you want single parameter, single workstation, so we don't need the end partition, like second end partitions, second start partitions, right? So I'm just checking off the whatever I don't need, right? Like this. So again, like in we have modeled each and every part in over here, and we have created the visibility parameter. So how you can create the visibility parameter? You just need to select any element, select any element. Over here we have the parameter, right? You can associate the parameter from here, right? Now if I talk about, I want class partition with uh, two multiple partitions, right? So I can just check off this like this. Even like we can actually, like right now I have created like visibility parameters, but you can create types as well. So how we can create that? So let's say if I want to provide single partitions, like single workstations without any partition, so I can just create a new type over here, single workstation, just single workstation without any partitions. So like it will contain let's say, so it will have the main, this one, so I'll go for, right, this one. And the single the next workstation, like it can contain the partition as well, right? Next it will contain the only start partition, right? So single workstation with start partition, and you can just turn on the uh, first, right, like this. And let's go for another, right, like this. And again, like with both partitions, right? So I'll go for, yeah, like this, right? So now what we can do, we can actually uh, like create one single family with multiple visibilities, and it will be like very much useful for uh, creating. And like the file size is actually like very light. So if I want to check like the file size of the family, so you can see, that's it. So if you are providing detailed, right, so you can actually use nested components, and like try to make your families more light, like below maybe 900 kbs, right? So why we are saying that? Because if your families are light, your project will also be light. So uh, and your families are feasible, so it is actually changing according to the sizes, according to your like according to the parameters that you have provided. So this is actually like a very effective workflow for developing a good family. So if you have any questions now, let's come to the question and answers. So okay.
Yeah, thank you, Prakriti, for giving us an live example from the scratch. So we have a Q&A open. So if you could check your Q&A. So Purnima, she is asking about, do we have to create the furniture in the furniture template only, or is there any other template that we can do?
Okay, so like for that, there are certain templates which are not category based. So if you want to create any furniture, you can actually go to generic models. Just like we have specific templates for specific categories, but certain templates like generic model templates and all those templates which are not related to any category, you can use that. And you can change further, like you can further on change the categories of the template. Like if I share my screen, if I open a new template, right over here you have all the templates related to categories. But if you are using, if you want to create the furniture template, you can either use generic models. So like why we are going for the generic model, because it is not related to any category. And like after that you can actually change the category. So why we are going for the category only, because for that, like for creating, for generating quantities, the main focus is to calculate quantities. Like if you are going for the families which are under family like furniture category, so that will be quantified in the furniture schedule. So category over here is necessary. I hope that answers your question.
So again, we have a question on how to select the correct work plane.
Okay, so select the correct work plane. Now it depends upon you. So whichever, like if I, like as you as you have observed, so over there I have created the right and left work plane. So that is up to me. Like if I am creating the left elevation of the furniture, so I'll select left work plane. So this is actually according to you. Now if I want to design the top, maybe like maybe we can say ventilators, like door with fan light, right? So if I'm developing that fan light with ventilator, right? So I can just create a work plane with a ventilator top over there, and I can select that. So it is actually according to you. It is all depend upon you. So there is no like method to select any correct work plane. It is actually depends upon you. Right. I
Okay,
hope.
one more question we have. Uh, Apart from furniture family, what about the walls and the ceiling textures? How can we add their Revit family?
Okay, so again, like walls and ceilings are your system-based families which are developed in the Revit project only. So you cannot create a specific, like you don't have a family template for that. But again, like if you want to create a different, let's say a different curvature, like adaptive, different like curvilinear ceilings. So there we have different templates for that. Like if I say adaptive curtain panels, like it is like we don't have the specific template. But you can, like if you're creating the wall and ceiling families, you can just go for the model in place families which are there in the project. So it is all like system based families. It is developed in the Revit project only. Next question.
Okay, so also there was a question on how do we change the detail level of the families, like the in the plan, in your elevations or sections. So how do we change the detail level of the families?
Okay, so over here, like if I, yeah. So in Revit families, you will get the like in annotation tab we have the symbolic line. So in plan, in elevation, you have to just provide the symbolic, just like in like just like 2D line work, you have to add 2D line work in your plan and elevation the way you want. Those representations will be there. So these symbolic lines will be applicable in your project also. It will be visible. So like just like if you see over here, the image that is over here. So if you are developing a door family, so this opening symbol you have to develop through symbolic lines, and then it will be like it will be shown in your floor plans, in your working drawings, right?
Prakriti, we have one more question on how to apply a material. So could you just show how to apply, where we get the material browser if we
Okay.
create any kind of forms?
So in this over here, so as you can see, we haven't provided any materials. So now if I want to provide any material, so I have to select the element, and over here in the material finishes you have the material like by category. You can choose the material from this three dot option, and you can create a parameter out of that. So let's create a parameter out of that. So first of all I need to apply the material. So in this three dot option, like a project browser will appear, and this like in material browser we need to provide the any material, like if let's say maybe walnut, right? So certain parameters which are there in the project material library, it will be applicable, like you can apply it in your like in your family. But over here this is your Autodesk library, so you can actually insert the material from here. This is the up arrow. I can just apply it over here and it will be applicable in your project material, and then now I can use it. So I have used it. Now I can just go for the associate family parameter, so that it can be like the material can be changed in your project as well. So let's name this as maybe partition material. Click on OK, and you can see that your material has been applied. And wherever we have wherever we provide the parameter over here, you can see the material will apply automatically like this, and this will be desk. So like create parameters according to that. So this is your desk, so it can be your desk material. This will be your leg, so it can be your leg material. So this is how you actually segregate your parameters. So to make a more like readable, more easily readable families which has correct naming of the parameters, that is also necessary. Okay, next question.
Okay, so we're getting a question about when we complete the family is made, if we get any kind of constraints or errors, how which will be the feasible way to solve that?
So if you have any constraints, so first of all it will tell you like if you have the over constraints, and sometimes Revit give you the solutions also. So you can go for click on OK, like delete if I say key if you have extra dimensions, so it will tell you ki like end constraint, like unconstrained. So you can go for unjoin geometry as well, like unjoin the dimension, delete the dimension. Revit is actually smart in that case. It will give you the solutions, as well as like again like what I've told you. So to like prevent the like over constraints, so you just provide the dimension in the sketch also, like in the sketch. So preferred like it is to be provided in the sketch. uh, there won't be any over constraint issue. If there is, then you can just go for like unlock any dimension or maybe delete any dimension. So it will be like you have to check it the feasibility of those families in each and every family. Okay. Next question.
Okay, so we have one more question. If we want to edit the family after completing, how can we do an like modification to the family if we want to edit that?
You just need to, like, if you have provided in the project, so let's say if I provided in the project, so let me apply it over here. First of all, I load the family that I've created. So over here, so now, first of all, if you want to modify it, and if it is loaded, so you can see and select the family, and over here in the modify tab, mode panel, you can just go for edit family, and again it will open the family interface. So this is how you can actually go for. And now the like how the types actually help you in this case, so you can just see after loading you can actually create the different uh, types as well. Like you can see over here we have this parameters, that is why we provide parameters to modify the families, right?
Okay, thank you, Prakriti. So I'll be sharing my screen and I would like to introduce our BIM for Design course which we have. So this is a professional development program for the architects and even the interior designers so that they can adopt the BIM platform. So we like teach from the Revit basic if someone is not familiar with Revit before. So we will be starting from Revit basic to intermediate level and to the advanced level. So in intermediate level, we'll be going for your Revit families, which we have showed you all the parametric Revit families, how you can create all these components and everything. So we do that from scratch. And also in massing family and all that, so we'll be creating everything in this, we'll be covering everything in this BIM for Design course. Apart from that, for basic Revit to advanced level of Revit, we also have like Navis work which is included in the course itself. So all the BIM workflow you will learn, even your class detections and everything, how to do that with different discipline, the ACC platform, which is your Autodesk Construction Cloud. So again, till your Collaborate Pro and even your theory classes for BIM standards and everything. So we'll be covering everything in a month, in a total month of 4 months, starting from basic to the advanced. And we have two batches available. That is a weekday batch, since most of the professionals come after work, so we have the timings from 6:30 to 8:30 in the evening. And we have a weekend batch also, that is only for Saturday, which is starting from 10 a.m. in the morning to evening 6 p.m. So these are virtually we will do through Zoom. So you can contact us at any point for further details. We'll be sending you all the details through email or contact number. So you can contact us whenever you want. So this is a BIM for Design course. So so coming to the last part, so I would like to thank everyone, especially a thank for all the attendees that they have joined. I hope you have learned a lot. Even if you are starting Revit from like a new user of Revit, at least you know the capabilities that Revit can do regarding Revit component creation. And I hope you have got a deep insight for it. So I'd like to thank each and every one of you for joining us today. And I would like to give a special thanks to Ramneet ma'am for joining us here as a speaker and giving her the deep insights how she have used Revit components, parametric components in her projects, wide range from architectural to interior to even in the working drawing. So thank you, Ramneet ma'am, for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you. Also, thank you to Prakriti as well. So she has given up the insight right from the scratch. So even if someone is not aware how to create a Revit family, at least she showed you how to create the parametric one from the scratch itself. So I would like to thank you to Prakriti.
Thank you. Thank you, and thank you all.
Okay. So, also thank you for everybody for joining us. So, this is the end of the webinar. So, thank you everyone for joining. So, we'll be ending the webinar now. Thank you.